family, you had 3 kids, you're kind of working 1.5 jobs for a long time. How do you kind of see the like end in mind? Like how do you kind of stick to it? I think that's kind of the challenge, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think one was just a huge, compelling future, which turned out to be not what I thought it would be, and was actually very a difficult shift for me to go through. I thought, man, if I could just become wealthy, the trick, right? I won't be me anymore. I won't have problems, like,
Yeah.
which is such an illusion. It doesn't exist. Dan Sullivan talks about the horizon, as an analogy for our goals. You're never going to get there. It's just a construct. It doesn't exist. There's no arrival. But I thought my horizon out there was being a multimillionaire, being financially free, and then that would kind of solve everything. And I'm glad that I thought that, because it kept me going for years. It was a little disappointing when I got there because, hey, hey man, still me. I still got to work out if I'm going to be happy. I still got to have struggle. I still got to have structure. Still got problems, like, and I knew that stuff intellectually, but to kind of go through it and go, man, all this money, like, did not, I don't say it didn't change much, changed everything, but it kind of internally was like, okay, well, I see why guys that are, I see why Michael Dell still works, or why Elon Musk has always got stuff going on. Like, he could, or that Rogan publishes multiple, 4-hour podcasts a week. These guys could do whatever they want, and countless others. But like, so that was kind of an interesting thing for me. But back to your question about what kind of kept me going through that one, I think it was kind of the training of, like, my whole life. I've been working hard, and like, that's just whatever, it's not a big deal. The other two was definitely kind of, I think a lot of men go through a big life change when they, and they really grow up and turn into real men when you have a family to support. That changed everything for me. Changed everything for me. And it was terrifying, and there's an incredible amount of pressure, but that really created kind of who I needed to become. And it's not unique to me. That was a big driver. And then just kind of this thing about, like, how far can we take this thing? How far can we push it? So that was what motivated me to kind of get through those, I guess, what we call like startup years. And then this idea of just being all in. When I was young, growing up, and started playing guitar and singing, I wanted to be a musician as like a career. And, ended up doing some bar band stuff, ended up being a professional, making a living from it, but never went anywhere. And I just kind of gave myself a hard look, and I'm like, why didn't that go anywhere? And it's like, oh man, because the answer came right back. You didn't go all in. You need to drop everything, move to LA or New York, sleep on a couch for 5 years, live, eat, and breathe it. And that's how that may work out. And I just thought, okay, well, I'm past that stage of my life. I don't even want to pursue that, but I'm going to go all in on the entrepreneurship thing. I will do absolutely anything. I'll sell anything. I'll get rid of any possessions. I'll stop any habit. I would literally be willing to sell the TV off my wall in my house if it meant I was one sand grain closer to my goal of what I was doing. So that all in idea was, like you said, it was that focus. And then I think I knew, like, this is only to take a couple of years. College was hard, and that took years. And I'm glad I went, but like the payoff there was, like, the ROI was, I mean, I don't know, awful. So I'm like, I could do anything for 3 or 4 years. If it's going to change my life for the rest of my life. And so that was it, that was it. And then just kind of the willingness to just grind, and I think that's not a forever solution, but I think it's inescapable in any kind of startup situation. A friend of mine, a real successful business owner, talks about, the rocket fuel required to get out of gravity. I mean, it's this just preposterous amount of fuel that you need. But once you're in orbit, like, you really don't need any fuel. So I was willing to burn enough fuel to get out of the gravity of the job, of what other people thought of me, of the need for a paycheck, all that gravity. And the gravity gets heavier as you get older and you start making more money. I honestly think I was probably one promotion away in the corporate world from the gravity just being too heavy forever. That would have been too much money, too easy. I think I just escaped that by just not quite making enough money, just being dissatisfied enough to really go for it and be willing to kind of put it all on the line for the next 3 years to get this thing up and running.